The story of Sodom and Gomorrah has haunted humanity for thousands of years. Long before modern science, before telescopes scanned the skies and archaeologists dug beneath ancient ruins, people told stories about two powerful cities that were erased from the earth in a single terrifying moment. According to ancient texts, these cities were consumed by fire falling from the heavens. The ground shook, flames covered the sky, and everything that lived there vanished almost instantly. For centuries, many believed the story was nothing more than a religious warning about corruption and sin. Yet today, some scientists and historians are beginning to wonder if the legend may have been inspired by a real catastrophe so horrifying that survivors could only describe it as divine destruction. Near the Dead Sea, one of the strangest places on Earth, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a city that appears to have been annihilated with unimaginable force nearly 3,600 years ago. The region itself feels almost otherworldly. The air is heavy with salt, the land is dry and lifeless, and the sea contains so much salt that almost nothing can survive within it. Ancient people would have viewed this landscape as cursed long before any scientific explanation existed. It was the perfect setting for stories of judgment from the gods. In the biblical account, Sodom and Gomorrah were prosperous cities filled with wealth and people. However, they were also described as places consumed by violence, cruelty, and moral decay. God decided to destroy them, sending fire and brimstone from the sky. One man named Lot was warned to flee before the destruction began. As he escaped with his family during the night, they were told not to look back. But Lot's wife turned to see the city behind her and was transformed into a pillar of salt. For generations, this detail sounded symbolic. Yet around the Dead Sea, there are actual towering salt formations shaped like human figures, adding another layer of mystery to the ancient story. For a long time, historians argued over whether Sodom and Gomorrah ever truly existed. Some believed the tale was entirely metaphorical, designed to teach moral lessons rather than record history. Others suspected there had to be some real event hidden beneath centuries of storytelling. The greatest challenge was locating the cities themselves. Different theories placed them in different parts of the Dead Sea region, but no one could agree on a definitive site. Then archaeologists began studying an ancient settlement called Tall el-Hammam in modern-day Jordan. The city was once large and advanced for its time, thriving during the Bronze Age. What shocked researchers was not merely that the city had been destroyed, but how it had been destroyed. Evidence suggested that everything happened extremely quickly. Walls collapsed violently outward. Pottery was melted into glass-like surfaces. Mud bricks had been exposed to temperatures far beyond what ordinary fires could produce. Even tiny crystals inside rocks showed signs of intense pressure and heat. Some materials appeared to have been exposed to temperatures hotter than 200 degrees Celsius. Such heat is difficult to explain through normal warfare or accidental fire. Ancient armies did not possess technology capable of generating that level of destruction. This led some scientists to propose a terrifying possibility. Perhaps the city had been obliterated by a cosmic explosion. The theory suggests that a meteor may have entered Earth's atmosphere and exploded in the sky above the city. This type of event is known as an airburst. Instead of striking the ground directly, the object detonates mid-air with enormous force. The explosion creates a shockwave capable of flattening entire regions while releasing temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun for a brief instant. Modern history provides an example of how devastating such an event can be. In 1908, an explosion occurred over Tunguska in Siberia. The blast flattened around 80 million trees across more than 2,000 square kilometers. Yet no impact crater was ever found because the object exploded before touching the Earth. If a similar explosion had occurred directly above a densely populated Bronze Age city, the result would have been absolute annihilation. Imagine the terror of witnessing such an event without any understanding of astronomy or physics. The sky suddenly becomes brighter than daylight. A massive fireball appears overhead. Seconds later, a shockwave tears through the city faster than sound. Buildings collapse instantly. Human bodies are burned or thrown through the air. Fires ignite everywhere at once. To ancient people, there would have been no scientific explanation possible. The only conclusion would have been that the heavens themselves had unleashed wrath upon the earth. What makes the theory even more intriguing is what happened after the destruction. Archaeological evidence suggests that the surrounding region was abandoned for hundreds of years. Something made the land difficult to inhabit long after the catastrophe itself. Researchers discovered unusually high levels of salt in the soil. Since the Dead Sea contains massive quantities of salt and minerals, the explosion could have blasted those materials across the nearby plains. Fields may have become poisoned with salinity, making agriculture nearly impossible. Entire communities would have collapsed from famine and displacement. Ancient stories describing the land becoming barren and cursed suddenly seem less symbolic and more disturbingly realistic. The biblical phrase fire and brimstone may also have roots in natural phenomena. The Dead Sea region sits along a major fault line with underground deposits of sulfur and bitumen. A meteor explosion combined with seismic activity could have ignited gases and sulfur from beneath the earth, creating raining fire and burning debris. To survivors watching from a distance, it would have looked exactly like the sky itself was falling apart. Of course, not everyone agrees with these conclusions. Many archaeologists remain cautious about directly connecting Tall el-Hammam with the biblical Sodom. Dating ancient ruins is complicated, and linking archaeological discoveries to religious texts is always controversial. Some experts argue that the evidence could point to a large fire, warfare, or another natural disaster rather than a cosmic airburst. Others believe the similarities between the scientific findings and the ancient descriptions are too strong to ignore. Regardless of which interpretation is correct, the mystery continues to fascinate people because it touches something deeply human. The fear of sudden destruction. Civilization often feels permanent, yet history repeatedly reminds us how fragile it truly is. Entire cities vanished in moments before. Pompeii disappeared beneath volcanic ash. Ancient civilizations collapsed after earthquakes, droughts, and tsunamis. Human societies rise believing they are secure, only to discover how powerless they can be against nature. What makes the Sodom and Gomorrah story especially chilling is how modern science shows that similar events are still possible today. Every day, thousands of objects travel through space near Earth. Most are harmless, but some are large enough to cause catastrophic damage if they entered the atmosphere over a populated area. In 2013, the Meteor exploded over Chelyabinsk, Russia, producing a shockwave that shattered windows across the city and injured more than 1,500 people. That object was only about 20 meters wide. A larger airburst over a modern city could kill hundreds of thousands in seconds. This realization changes the way many people view ancient myths. Legends once dismissed as fantasy may actually preserve memories of real disasters witnessed by ancient civilizations. Over generations, survivors transformed terrifying experiences into stories filled with gods, judgment, and supernatural power. The details evolved, but the core memory remained. Fire from the sky, cities erased instantly, land left lifeless afterward. Whether Sodom and Gomorrah were real cities or symbolic creations, the story endures because it reflects humanity's oldest fears. We fear divine punishment, but we also fear the uncontrollable forces of nature and the universe. Ancient people looked upward and saw gods. Modern people look upward and see asteroids, comets, and cosmic debris. Yet the feeling is strangely similar. We understand that our world, despite all its technology and progress, is still vulnerable. Somewhere beneath the dry earth, near the Dead Sea, more answers may still be waiting. Archaeologists continue excavating ruins, analyzing minerals, and searching for clues hidden in layers of ash and stone. Every discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, but no discovery has solved it completely. Perhaps the full truth will never be known. Perhaps the exact cities called Sodom and Gomorrah have long since disappeared forever beneath salt and sand. But maybe that uncertainty is why the story refuses to die. It exists at the border between myth and history, religion and science, memory and catastrophe. It reminds us that ancient people were not foolish storytellers inventing random tales around fires. Sometimes they were witnesses trying to describe horrors beyond their understanding. And if a civilization truly watched a city disappear beneath a burning sky thousands of years ago, it is easy to understand why the memory survived for millennia. Even now, standing near the silent waters of the Dead Sea, surrounded by barren cliffs and salt-covered ground, it is not difficult to imagine how terrifying that ancient night must have been. A bright light in the heavens, a roar louder than thunder, fire swallowing the horizon, then silence. Complete and eternal silence where two great cities once stood.